Hi, EW. I'm sorry. I know in the first video called The Core, if you haven't watched it and you want to watch it, it's there. I know in the first video called The Core, I went into detail about the first dream, and I said a bit about the second dream, but I wasn't really clear about it. So the second dream was um we had four we had like four generations in the room together, and not all songwriters. uh oh, in fact, the only songwriters were um the three of us, me, Chris, and you, Pastor Stephen. The rest were just people from the church, from the four groups. We had a, a 12-year-old, we had a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, we had someone in their late 20s, there, and then there was us in our 40s, and then we had someone in their late 50s, early 60s. And it, this session wasn't, I don't think, to write songs, but we just gathered material in asking those four questions. What makes you happy? Uh, what no, what makes you happy? What brings you pleasure? What what breaks your heart? And and what no what makes you happy? What gives you pleasure? What brings you pain? And what breaks your heart? And we just had a discussion with all these generations, different ages, different stages, and the reasons were, and at the surface level they were different. Like for the uh kids, they were like not being liked at school, or not having any friends, and or feeling that they have to put on because they want to be liked and not alone. And for the teens, it was something else. And for the young adults, it was not being not being able to, not feeling prepared for the world, that you have you suddenly have to pay bills and you have no idea how to manage that. And for you and I, said Pastor Stephen, feeling like we're not good enough to be preachers, and sometimes we didn't we agreed that we didn't know why God called us, that we feel inapt, and like, because, and I talked about my family struggles, and you talked about your struggles, and we and we agreed, and Chris had something too, and the seniors in the group were afraid of their retirement, so we're afraid of not having retirement there. Um, and although the issues were different, the core of what we needed to know was the same. Like, how do I do I bring God into that? How do I find myself in that, whatever age and stage I'm at? And we didn't use any names in the songs or tell any story. stories, but from the discussions that we had in that room, we gathered material that was so moving and so soul stirring, and it really blessed a lot of people. And it was still about God, and it was still about Jesus and how He saved, but it went a little deeper than just the surface level of what worship music usually talks about. And I'm not saying any of that is bad. It's good. It's necessary. It heals. But this album went a little deeper. And whatever this thing manifests to be, the Lord wants me to tell you, whether it manifests to be a sermon series in the future, or the inspiration for sermon series, or whether, like the dream, it manifests to be an album. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be tough. It's going to be. There are days, if there are a series of songwriting sessions, there are days where you're gonna feel raw and vulnerable, like I did doing the first one. You don't know how vulnerable I felt, because here you are, um, wonderful songwriters. You know the craft of songwriting. You know all that stuff, and you guys do it for the right reason. And here I am, a virtual nobody, telling you all this stuff that you had a dream and whatever. I felt very vulnerable. I thought, should I have done that? Should I have, you know, should I have done that? Who am I to be telling these masters of songwriting who won Grammys and worked with knows whoever, worked with whoever? Who am I to be telling them? So it was very vulnerable for me to do that, but I did it. And um I did it with the help of the Lord, and the Lord told me, I got your back, I got your back. And I was like, really? I was like, I'm scared. What if they think I'm crazy? I'm having dreams and like, oh. And I was like, I'm doing it anyway. Whether it turned out to be an actual album, or whether it turns out to be a uh, Bible study that Holly does, or whether for next year, or whether it turns out to be a sermon series years down the road, there is something here. Because, like I said, my hope one day is to teach, is to really teach God in a way that doesn't make him so ethereal, like a religion that we follow, but a relationship that we have. God is not a religion that we follow, but he's a relationship that we have. It's like if you needed a plumber uh, to fix your sink, and you'd say, hey, does anybody know a good plumber? I'm looking for one. And people say, yeah, I know a guy who fixed my sink. He did really good work. It was he it was a really good price, and here's his number. Like you see, if like it's a way of saying, if you're broken, need a relationship. Here is somebody that helped me, and he can do the same thing for you. That's the kind of thing I my heart would want to get across to people that it's not like a religion, like a smorgasbord of whatever. You could pick Christianity, you could pick Islam, you could even pick to be an atheist. And we say that Christianity is not a religion, but a relationship. But what does that mean to the wider world? What does that mean when you don't, when you don't know the Lord? Like, what does that mean to know the Lord? Um, and also, when I talked about identity, I was like, people identify themselves by so many things. They identify, like, for me, I can identify myself as a woman. I can identify myself as black. I can identify myself as having a disability. Excuse me, as part of the disabled community. I can identify myself as a Christian. But first, before I identify myself as that, I identify myself as human. And before even that, before even human, I identify myself as Him. So knowing Christ is not just, oh, you get into heaven and you get to live a good life or you have a friend or whatever. Knowing Christ, for me, at the bottom of it, the first thing is it gives you identity. It gives you identity. And with identity comes purpose. And then with purpose comes a whole lot of stuff um, that can guide you through your life. So before the friend and before the problem solver or before the brother, before whatever, um, being a Christian gives me a sense of identity, because when God defines you, when you are defined by God as His son or His daughter, it doesn't matter what the world defines you as. It matters. It only matters what God defines you as. And we have this whole push now about uh, gender identity and whatever. And I'm not going to get into that whole debate here, but all I could say is before my gender, before my sexuality, I am not defined by those. Those are just part of who I am. I'm defined first by the fact that I'm his daughter. I'm not defined by the fact that I'm a YouTuber or a writer or a preacher, because all of that can go away. All of that can go away tomorrow. But what will never go away is the fact of my real identity is being his child and being loved by him. And the question for me now is how do we as the BOC, Body of Christ, bring that to the world in a way that they can understand, that is less churchified and more humanified. I made that word. Like that we can that we can that people can hear that. Oh, not as another Christian song or as another worship song, but as an, oh, I need that. I'm thinking of my barber, as I said in the first one. I'm thinking of like the person who is spiritual. spiritual and not really of any faith. I'm thinking of a person that's mad at the world because they lost everything and nothing works out for them. What is a song that they can hear? A person of of maybe a Muslim person, maybe a Hindu person, maybe a, you know, whatever kind of person, maybe a gay or lesbian person, transgender person. What are the songs that they need to hear that they won't say, oh, that's a good religious song, it has a good beat or whatever, good music. But what are lyrics that they can hear and go, oh, I need what they're talking about. I don't know who this Jesus is, but I want him. You know, that is what I was getting at in the first video. Not not to dumb down who God is. We know who God is, but to to use language to explain who God is in song for for the unchurched person. You know, for the regular person out there that's on their third wife and just lost, and you know, like, what are lyrics that'll reach them and uh and make them say, oh my gosh, I need to meet this person. Back to my plumber analogy, I need to get this plumber's number. Okay. um okay. I know there are men watching here, but I will give you an analogy. I um I got at the place where I live. They're not allowed to cut fingernails, and there's a place that I go to cut toenails. That wasn't the problem, but for fingernails, I had to wait for my sisters. And my sisters live in other cities, so I had to wait for them to have time to come and cut my nails. But but they were getting long again, and my sister said they couldn't come. So what I did was look online, and I was looking, and got and I tried a few of them. I tried a few of them, and God said, I heard God say as I was looking down on as I was looking down the line, because I typed salons in Toronto. As I was looking down all the nail salons, God said, that one. So I called that one, and I made an appointment for that one. And not only was it reasonable, they did a really good job. Uh, I don't know if you can see, but they're purple and they're really nice. They're super nice. Um, and because they were super nice, and because uh, the place gave me a really good, they they gave me a really good deal. It was $20 to do both hands. Um, I don't know if you can see. I'm trying, but no. So, but the ladies that work with me was like, where did you get your nails done? And I kept telling them everywhere where I got these nails done, and they're like, oh wow. And then everyone was like, oh wow, where did you get your nails done? And I was like, because they were so well done. It was so like, they were so well done, and they're not chipping uh, up until now. And and I told all the ladies here where I got them done, uh, the price of them, and they were like, "Wow, I'm going there too." See, this is what I mean. So when you've got something that you can't wait and it works well for you and it changes your life, you want to tell people about it. You want to tell people about it. I I just want like people to be driving in their cars, um, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, those lyrics are so true." And they're not believers. They're just uh people that God loves, that he ha- and those songs to pull on their hearts. So that's what I mean. Not that the songs we do now are not good. They're excellent. Oh my gosh, we write some of the best songs ever. But I'm saying the Lord is I I can sense the Lord is calling us to go deeper to a different level. He's saying we've done it at one level, let's do it let's do another. Uh, Okay. See you later. Bye. Sorry, I just finished eating dinner.